Is this comparative to like a Blockbuster not adapting and going away because of the Netflix of the world?
Yeah, because Blockbuster said that the consumer likes driving to the movie store and picking out the movie. Yeah. The consumer likes their data being stolen. It feels good. Yeah. It doesn't make sense, right? Like it does. These stories make sense until they don't. I like being sold ideas on the internet just because I want to learn new things. But that's because the technology didn't exist for me to be in control of my own data. When something becomes available that changes the narrative, then absolutely, like as a consumer, I want the best experience for me. And if that means I control my own data, then that's what I want.
Because the management and transparency is what's very important. So once you submit a referral, you're going to have your own Home Advantage account, and it's going to tell you where everything sits. So if you have 10 referrals that you've sent into the network, it's going to give you all 10 referrals. It's going to tell you every milestone that client is sitting in, whether they're touring homes, whether they're in escrow. And you now can manage through the Home Advantage application as far as what your pipeline looks like for the referrals that you've sent. And so it's pretty sophisticated, and it's all click of a button, guys.
All righty, we are back for April's installment with our favorite Consortia friends. I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm gonna be very, very PC with that intro because who knows what'll come out of my mouth. So welcome to those of you joining us in the back end in Zoom. Welcome to those of you joining us in LabCoatAgents. You all know Teresa and Sheila by now with Consortia. We have been talking about blockchain and digital currency and how this is going to affect our world. And every month there seem to be constant updates. And so we're not going to go backwards. I'm going to remind all of you, if you haven't seen this before, or if you're new to this, all of these episodes go back to June of last year. So we've been doing this monthly. Maybe we missed a month or two, but it goes back to June. So you can go check those out on the LabCoatAgents YouTube channel. You could probably try to find them in the Facebook group. That would be challenging. But this, like all of them, are recorded. And so today, ladies, there's lots of things happening in the currency space. And you have rolled out a training that we want to talk about that is the first 100% AI training. That's pretty fascinating. And I'm sure, obviously, it relates to digital currency. It relates to blockchain, all that sort of stuff. So where do you want to start today?
Well, we can talk about product launch. How about that? Should I show a demo of what it looks like?
Hell yes.
Oh,
hell yes.
Okay, sure.
But why don't you set the stage first? Because I didn't do a very good job of it. I just kind of touched the surface. So you set the stage for what you're about ready to show them.
Awesome. Okay, so Consortia filed for the patent years ago for minting a non-fungible token to be the digital representation of a piece of property. So think of it as Carfax for the house. We are not crypto. We don't sell houses as NFTs. We are a data, as Sheila says, as a filing cabinet for your data. So this is a demo of version 5 of Consortia. Oh, can I share screen? Will you please give me permission?
That would be Jake.
Ready, please, Jake. Oh, thank you, sir. Okay, let me find the right screen. Okay. So I'm going to play this video. So in this process, I've already gone through KYC, which is know your customer. I, Teresa, as the human, have already been validated, putting in my address. I'm uploading a photo, and then I'm going to upload my settlement statement. And so with these documents and our AI, with our latitude, longitude search, and this document that we're uploading, we are validating that Teresa is the owner of this piece of property. So that's it. Pretty exciting stuff. It's, I think, super simple and super easy to understand. Like, this is a very practical, very easy way to use blockchain and NFT technology.
Was that consumer facing?
Yeah, that's consumer facing.
So this is a part of and let me recap a little bit about that, about kind of giving the control to the consumer, which is what you guys envision is going to happen with all of this.
Absolutely. It's Web 5, which is consumer self-sovereign data. Mhm.
Could you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah. Okay. So we know, like, if you go check your mailbox, right, you get all this ad information. If you go on the internet, you have these cookies that track you all over the place. So if I go look up something at Williams Sonoma, that same product is going to go follow me for the next 2 weeks around the internet, like a dirty shirt. It's going to be in my Facebook feed. It's going to be in all of the websites that have ads in them, right? And I never get paid for my data being taken from me. So I am the product when I go online. And so I'm being marketed to all the time. This is the switch of that. This is where consumers start to take control of their own information. And then we're building in the capability for them to go then share it with parties that want to buy it from them. So it could be a lender as this goes along. It can be an insurance company. If you're a tenant, we're building in the process so that you can reuse your data for multiple tenant applications to multiple landlords. So that's what I mean by self-sovereign identity.
And let's, I mean, it's been a while since we've talked about this. So let me ask some questions that I may have asked before, but I know everybody listening could be new. I don't know if they listened to the time that we've talked about this, but when you talk about them controlling their own data, first of all, do you see this being like universal at some point? This will be across the board.
Yeah, of course. We're thinking universal for all your personal data, and we're building this globally. I was in Mexico City for the kickoff of NAR LATAM. So super excited about that. Everything we build is global in scope. So it could be your utility bill or your rental payment globally, especially using the new digital currency, the new US digital currency that's coming out.
And as we talk about the consumer, controlling their data, is that, I mean, does that mean that now, for all intents and purposes, like the way that we acquire a customer is going to completely change?
I think so. I think you're going to be paying the consumer directly for their information. So you're going to have to dial into a Web 5 service like Consortia or one of our business partners, because this consumer is going to own their data. And they're going to say, do I want to share it with this realtor? Do I want to share it with this lender or loan originator?
Is that going to render marketing obsolete?
I think marketing is just going to change. I don't know. And you're the marketing guy. I'm just a girl.
Why I'm asking.
Yeah. So it is going to put, and early on, like last year when we were working on this self-sovereign data stuff, we had business partners of ours who were like, whoa, like this changes how the bank is going to get their leads. Like, are they going to like it? And I think, I don't know, a lot of people it's going to move the cheddar, right? And we just have to adopt. We're considering that all these factors of how people get their business and who's in control of that consumer, who brings the consumer into any portal. I think there's going to be a ton of disruption. And I don't like saying the word disruption, but I really do think a lot of the bespoke players, like the lead capture websites, those are going to change. They're either going to adopt or go away. I think a lot of the peer-to-peer payment platforms are going to have to disrupt, or they're being disrupted by the US government right now with what's happening in the payment system. So there are huge changes at a very big level for a lot of these companies.
Is this comparative to like a Blockbuster not adapting and going away because of the Netflix of the world?
Yeah, because Blockbuster said that the consumer likes driving to the movie store and picking out the movie. Yeah. Mm-hmm. The consumer likes their data being stolen. It feels good. Yeah. It doesn't make sense, right? Like it does. These stories make sense until they don't. I like being sold ideas on the internet just because I want to learn new things. But that's because the technology didn't exist for me to be in control of my own data. When something becomes available that changes the narrative, then absolutely, like as a consumer, I want the best experience for me. And if that means I control my own data, then that's what I want.
Do you anticipate any sort of controls being put in place for this? Because otherwise, couldn't it just be a game of going to the highest bidder?
Well, it might, right? It might. And we're about good players coming into the system. So everybody who comes to us has to be referred by family and friends who gets access to this data or who has the credentials, what name brands do we trust and do we know? So yeah, it's good reputation. As Sheila says, good contracts build good friends. So that's kind of the mantra here.
So, I mean, I guess I'm trying to wrap my head around how, like, here's the way I maybe primitively think about this. So let's just say I'm the consumer and I go in and mint my property and, my personal data and all that kind of stuff. And I am about ready to sell my house and I want to buy a new one. And so, traditionally, obviously, it's either referral. I'm going to use a past realtor, or maybe I've been influenced by marketing or someone on social media, and that's who I decide I want to use currently. But in the new world, what you're saying is, maybe is there going to be some sort of a portal to basically say, hey, world, my house is about ready to go for sale. Who wants to sell it? And who wants to be my agent for the buy side, and who wants to be my lender? But you're going to have to pay me in order for the right to work with me, which seems kind of backwards, because I could also see that the concern would be that, okay, how are these professionals going to build that into their cost of doing business?
So that's actually a very real scenario. Consortia has built in the practitioner NFT, so the realtor can come in and mint themselves into the system. So create that NFT that's their identifier. That was a promise to the industry like 5 years ago on stage at the Real Estate Standards Organization, which is a sister organization to the National Association of Realtors. So we fulfilled that. The next part that we're building is to tie in that practitioner token into what you just saw, which is the property token. But it's really on the practitioner. Like, look, if you're good at your job, your consumer is going to call you back regardless if they tagged you in a system or not. That's on the practitioner. Are you actually good at your job? And that's beyond us. We're a platform.
It just seems like there's a lot of things that could go wrong here. Go ahead, Sheila.
Practically. So if I'm a consumer and I'm looking for a home and I want to get a quote from different lenders because I don't know who I want to use yet, and I have the ability to get multiple lenders giving me quotes through the system, but the lender has to choose to participate on whether they want to or can work with me. It becomes a way for me to then decide who I want to work for and work with, instead of it being just companies selling my data. I mean, if you think about, think of this.
So would you equate this to like a lending tree? They're the ones now that are the cornerstone.
Right.
So the consumer becomes the lending tree, essentially.
Correct. And even think of it from this perspective. Teresa and I talked about our parents. Let's say our parents are on medication, and as they get older, they take more medication. And sometimes when you're older, you forget what medication you're supposed to take, or don't pick up the right medication, or maybe your medications don't work well together and you're going to different pharmacies and you make a mistake. Where if everything's on the system, you can track what that person's taking, and then you'd be able to share that with the pharmacy that you choose to share with. So everybody's making sure that you're taking the right medication in the right amount at the right time. So there's many ways to look at this, but ultimately we all know data is the issue, right? Data is what everybody's after. So we know with technology and all the companies we're working with that people are wanting. So I have a 22 and 24-year-old. When I told them what Teresa and I were building, my oldest son, who is definitely really into the computer side of things, the other one's a musician. He said, well, he started drilling me. My 24-year-old started drilling me about what protections am I going to have, and who am I going to get to share this with, and how do I make sure people don't get my data that I don't want to have. And I'm laughing to myself as he's talking, because I'm thinking, don't you know that people are already selling your data? You just don't know it, or you're not aware that, what is it, Teresa? What's the number a year? We calculated what the number a year was for your data that you would be getting a check. What was that number? I can't remember. We did it a while ago.
Yeah, so it was actually a stat that I heard when I was on stage. I shared the stage with somebody who was like former deep ops for the US government, and he had a data company, and he said it's $10,000 per decade is what our data is worth to all the marketing companies, but we never get checks for this information. Like, it's so granular that every time I get into my German car downstairs, it tracks the weight of my car. It'll track where I've been. Did I go to Target? What was the weight of the product that just went into my car? And that then that information gets sent back to the mothership, and that information is sold like at that level. And that just exists today. That's not like tinfoil hat kind of stuff. And this was 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago.
And we know, I mean, that people have tracked our age, they've tracked our gender, they've tracked where we live. I mean, we used to do it in marketing, right? We used to do it as realtors before Facebook stopped us from doing it, where we would literally target market through Facebook based on gender and all sorts of things that we're no longer allowed to do. So we know it's happening, and we know it's just progressing. But this is no different than when you got in social media at the very beginning, seeing where the puck was going, and you made the decision, oh, I'm going to become an expert at TikTok and these things, because I can see how this revolution is going to overtake what we've all been used to on just creating websites and landing pages and stuff like that. This is literally no different. It's really just no different. And so it's taking all your expertise in marketing and just catapulting it to the next evolution of technology, which is where we're all going with the blockchain and AI and things like that.
Yeah. And I was going to add to that. I mean, it's facial recognition, it's keystrokes. It's everything now.
Have you flown lately?
Oh yeah. Well, I fly all the time.
Out of Dallas, they're doing a full face. You're not even having to show your boarding pass now. I think Teresa just had it in Mexico, but
yeah, I've seen that.
Literally, you don't even, at the airport, you don't even have to show your boarding pass. They just scan your face.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, they don't need your driver's license anymore.
No, it's amazing.
Yeah, I was coming back in last night, yesterday morning, it's all a blur, from Mexico. And I was going through with the app, and they're like, oh, the computer system is down. We just need to take a picture of your face. You know what, Sheila, now that I think about it, because that was a process going to Cabo 2 weeks ago, I think the computer system is down was baloney. I think it was just because it's the same technology that they were using going to Mexico. That's what it was. It wasn't that the app is broken. It's more just like, hey, we don't want to scare you, but we've read your entire face. Thanks so much for scanning your face with your iPhone to check into your phone every day. Yeah, it's a good point.
And clear. I mean, I do clear when I fly wherever it's available, and it scans my eyeballs or my fingers or whatever. So, and that whole, new government issued ID is going to be a global ID. I mean, this is just where it's all going. So if you think about you as a consumer having the right to own your data, that whoever you want to sell or not sell it to, you would then have control. And other big data companies, I don't even need to name them, you know who we're talking about, aren't going to make money off of your name anymore. You're going to be able to make that money. I think everybody that we've talked to about it is excited about self-sovereignty. Now, does that mean that the government still doesn't have access to stuff? No, they can still see everything, right? The banks can see your bank accounts and all that stuff. So it's not like it changes what's happening on that end of it. It's just you as a consumer have rights over your data that you have not had in the past.
But let's be honest here. This is like these conversations are the very beginning, right? At least to our industry. Obviously, you guys are way out ahead of this, but most of the people that are going to watch this, which is going to be few, are on the forefront. They're going to be far ahead of the consumer actually learning about this. That's just seems to be the reality. So I want to look at this from a perspective of not doom and gloom, because I think that's what the immediate reaction is to all of this conversation is like, everybody's tracking this and that. And like, there's no running from it. Removing TikTok is not going to fix anything. That's just a political bullshit, to be honest with you. Go on, Teresa, you want to add something?
Well, the TikTok thing is not about TikTok at all. I don't know. Yeah, that has nothing to do with TikTok, or maybe like 2% of that is TikTok. That's more about blocking the virtual VPNs to stop people from getting their money out of the United States using crypto.
It's the Restrict Act. The
Yes.
Restrict Act. Yeah.
Exactly. That is not TikTok. I
Yeah.
mean, TikTok we have our own. Do I want my kids addicted to TikTok and knowing their face and everything that they like? And the fact that TikTok in China is like teaching kids how to play the violin versus like other not good stuff in the US. Yeah, I think that's an issue, but it's much more about the VPN issue.
Yeah. And I mean, I've been talking about this a lot actually, because we learned this weeks ago that it's not about TikTok. That's just a facade to kind of divert Americans' attention to say, yes, screw TikTok. The reality is, Teresa, I don't know if you know this. I mean, TikTok is not even based out of China. It's based out of Singapore and LA, and it's not even owned. I mean, ByteDance is a Chinese-based company, not owned by China. There's a lot of things that people need to understand here, but that's neither here nor there. I don't want to get down that rabbit hole because I won't stop talking. I want to talk about what we were just talking about, which is the consumer controlling the data. Because here's the way I look at this is as I'm asking you the questions, because I want to know how I need to prepare, and I want to prepare this audience for how they need to prepare. Because here's the reality, folks. For those of you listening, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And so it goes back to the TikTok conversation. Like I've told you guys many times, part of the reason I'm in the position I'm in is just because I'm an early adopter. I embrace things quicker. I don't look at it and say doom and gloom, screw this, and then 2 years later I embrace. I just jump in, and that's what I'm going to do here. That's what I'm doing here. And so I want those listening to pay attention to this because, all right, what can we be doing? What should we be doing to prepare for this, to position ourselves so that we're going to be in that small percentage of professionals that are prepared and ready to succeed in this new world that could be 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, 24 months. I don't know. But how do we prepare?
So I was just at the Global ARIA conference in Mexico City, and the guy who leads the NAR Venture Capital Fund, his name is Dave Garland. He asked the audience, and these are like the top of their profession, brokers and agents, bankers throughout the world. And he said, who of you have played with ChatGPT? One person in the audience raised their hand.
That's
What?
in Mexico.
No, but this was global. These people came from the United States. They came from all over the world, and it was ARIA, which is the Asian. I know what's Jake saying? Why not more? Don't know. And I was like, like with all due respect to like Jim Park, who founded Global ARIA, which has been around for like 20 years, and the amazing brokers and agents who are in the room who do just tons of business. But I'm like, your kind are dying. Like, good night, sweet prince. You're done. Like, and so I completely agree with what you're saying, Jeff. And I think in our own team at Consortia, we figure stuff out months, weeks in advance, sometimes years in advance, because of but we just happen to find our tribe, and we figured all this out individually. And now we're part of your tribe, and you're part of ours, right? So we see this stuff in advance. There are times where this stuff seems really dark and gloomy to our Consortia team. And then I'm just like, nope, that's not how winners think, right? We are champions. We are victors. We are going to win and dominate this. Is it scary because it's new? Yeah. So here's the analogy. My really good friend had their bank account shut down for not providing documents. Guess what, guys? Fed coin, not Fed coin, this stuff happens. You get in trouble with the law, right? Like they just shut down your bank accounts. You're a flight risk. Your accounts get shut down. All of this stuff exists anyway. And when you start thinking about it like that, like all your Venmo transactions are made, like they're shareable. There's the Bank Secrecy Act. It's the BSA. You've got KYC, AML. The Department of the Treasury has the FinCEN, which is the Financial Crimes Division. Oh my God, it goes on and on, right? Like, doesn't matter if it's Fed coin or not. Like all of this is visible anyway. So just, it's a matter of adapting to this. We created that entire AI course, right? Eventually AI programmatically writes our contracts for us, programmatically interacts with our customers, reads the all of the underwriting documents for the loan. Like that's how it's going to happen. Here's the thing. Do you, right? Are you one of those agents in that room that I was just in where one of them is like, yeah, I know I can spell chat GPT? Or are you one of the agents who's like, what is Google? Literally, that was the next question that came up that Dave asked, was like, who here's ever used Google? And people were like, wait, have I used Google? I was like, oh my God, like
Think about this. When we all got in the business, did any of us have a CRM?
Hmm.
No. We used to use note cards, right? And then we used notepads, and then we got sharp and we learned Excel or whatever.
Mhm.
And now there is no major agent or no monster team that doesn't use a CRM at high level. So they're not even communicating with their clients. Their system is communicating with their clients. That's what Teresa's saying, is that you're moving through the evolution of technology as it advances. So instead of you having to take your time to write out your 14-point drip campaign in your CRM, your AI is going to be able to do it for you. It's like Teresa, I remember she wrote a blog. She literally, because we were playing together as a team, and we were given different words, and she gave this word, and it literally wrote an entire blog that she posted on her site through the AI system. And there's different ones that she uses, other ones as well, besides ChatGPT. But ultimately, think about like moving from a CRM to where you're having to actually write everything yourself. And then instead, imagine the time you would save if you could say, Jasper or Chat or whoever, give me information about writing this article, or write this, or like she's saying, it'll fill in the contracts for you. And imagine if a robot, you go onto a website, and instead of you having, how you have the little chat bot on your site, on your website, and it's asking you questions. Imagine it being her. Hit the button and watch her. You're going to have a robot talking to you, asking you questions.
In this section, we will cover the components of a certified asset. Let's dive in.
So instead of you having a chat box where you're typing to people, it's going to be a person looking at you, but it's a robot. It's the same thing. So it's not to be scared of it. It's just saying it's the next evolution. We can still see your screen, Teresa, by the way.
I know, and this is intentional. So
okay.
This is Jasper. Jasper sits on my windows. Sorry, the certificate is late. I am a turtle.
And now Jasper's going to give her. Here we go. That was Jasper. That's AI right there.
Yeah, this whole course. So Sheila, I told Sheila I'm going to make a checklist before we go on stage in Cabo. She's like, okay, cool. This is Friday, like going into the weekend. And we chat about other stuff all weekend. She wakes up Monday morning. She's like, what, 3 hours of work, because of our 3 hours at this point ahead of me. She wakes up and she goes, I did not realize. Oh, see, somebody else. Okay, sorry about that. So then she wakes up and she goes, I thought you were making a checklist. You made an entire course. So AI wrote and made this course. Those videos are all robots. And this is just like easy stuff. Like I'm a nobody. I'm not a programmer, right? Like I'm not an AI expert. So if you got to use this stuff, guys, get creative. You got to program the robots because they're only as good as their prompt.
Well, and that's kind of like when you said that. So I've been talking about ChatGPT since I think the first time I did it in front of a group was January, and I've been doing it ever since, but it's progressively growing now. So in the beginning, it was a handful of hands. Now it's 30 to 50% of the audience is saying, yes, they have, but that's real estate. And I'm not naive to think that I think if I was just talking to a random room of individuals that are non-real estate, I think it would probably be a fraction, it'd be less than 5%.
What's really interesting lately with my customers who are just, you think they're lay people or people walking around my neighborhood, people know a lot more of what's going on about the economy, the new currency, AI. Those people know a lot more than the average realtor.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what neighborhoods are you walking around in?
I'm in a sleepy part of San Rafael. like super sleepy. We're not, I would not call this a high-tech neighborhood at all. And I'm not in Silicon Valley, like I'm north of Silicon Valley.
Yeah, I think it depends where you're at. I mean, so regardless, let's talk about, how do we prepare? And I guess maybe this is the segue right into this course you guys have created. So let's talk about it. Like, what have you done here?
So this is a course that explains each component part of, and we answer how-tos about, this is for either bankers or for real estate practitioners. So you can kind of understand the flavor of where that goes. Let me adjust this so I can see the other part of my screen. So this one is consumer facing. So this is using High Note. Mark Choi, who is the founder of Climb Real Estate, and he was bought out by Realogy. Get this, he signed the closing of his sale from Climb to Realogy the day that Compass opened their office in San Francisco. And then Compass destroyed the San Francisco market. Had he not closed that day, so Compass came through and bought 54% of the San Francisco market. Mark Choi is one of the smartest people I know, to know to get out before Compass destroyed the entire business that he bought, right? Or built. So, because Climb was a really big deal in San Francisco. Anyway, so he developed this technology. It's called High Note for presentations. So we created this page for consumers. So now Consortia can give this to agents who can give this to their clients. So think about that for a second, right? Like, I have a product and a service for agents. I'm selling to agents. So this is now consumer facing, and we made consumer facing video assets. So this is about, we're not talking about just scaling your business, right? In how we use tech. Now we're using leverage. And so instead of like this, like time and money, like your growth, like this slow and steady curve, now you're going from here as far as your growth to here. Because now I can create a process that either I can use here nationally, or what I'm going to do in my own practice is I'm going to make videos to explain things to all my customers so that I can service customers throughout the whole state of California, right? And not be on the phone all day. And my customers are going to like it because they can have their questions answered. And I don't have to sit there in front of the camera. I said to Sheila, I'm never going to film another technical asset again. And she laughed at me. She like did this really big belly laugh. And she's like, yeah, that's what you think. Like, think about how many things we do. And every single one of these videos is flawless. She doesn't stutter. She doesn't say, she doesn't have to do a retake. She's perfect. And then we've also got the title person. We've kind of matched like a middle-aged white guy here, for example, to the appraisal section. So we do some matching or floor plan technology.
Is that like labeling? What are you doing there?
What? That's so weird. As long as I'm not issuing a mortgage or selling a house in redlining districts, I think I'm okay, right? Are those the rules?
I'd like to see more diversity from your robots, please.
Funny you should say that. I was thinking about doing that, but I didn't know what would be acceptable. I'm so serious.
I mean, I am and I'm not. I don't really care, but I think that's going to come up at some point. I mean, I'm not going to be the first one to say that, but I'm doing it in a joking way, and it's going to come up seriously. But it doesn't matter here. I mean, that's not really the point of this presentation. I mean, so where I guess I'm still not very clear on what I need to be doing now, besides the education. And is that what you're saying at this point? Is this where we are? That the focus of what our path is to just to continue to educate ourselves, or is there any measures that we can be taking to, like I said, position ourselves correctly?
Well, I know on my to-do list, it's a matter of using Jasper.ai to then create posts and automate that with Zapier to go out. And I think we're seeing a lot of service providers give training on how to use AI. So I think for the audience here, you need to just learn what it is, learn the blockchain part of it, come and take our course, get certified in blockchain itself, and understand, yeah, crypto is getting destroyed right now because of legal regulatory issues, but don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, because it's here to stay. It's just the use case for it is growing up and it's become institutionalized. And then to start playing with ChatGPT, learn about automation in your workflow. Like, where do you have all that friction? Where do you spend a lot of your day doing repetitive tasks? Or what in your business is formulaic? what is like in what areas do you have a standard process that you can completely just run through an algorithm and have an AI help you with? Or your marketing content, like what kind of marketing content do you want to push out there?
Yeah. Ruth has a question. Thanks for being here, Ruth. How do you think we should educate people, realtors in particular, because they are generally afraid of new things and change? It's not just realtors, it's most humans, but good question.
Well, I think people are listening to Jeff's podcast. I think that's pretty helpful. Maybe we put together some video assets about how to use AI in your business. I don't know. Consortia seems to have a lot of cutting edge technology training. So maybe that's something we consider if that's of use to the community.
Always. Yeah. I mean, but as it relates to AI, because we've been watching this since November, and you know, it's come fast and furious, you know, way faster than anybody could have ever imagined. It's really crazy, actually. But at the same token, I'm looking at it from a different lens than a lot of people are, because I think a lot of people are looking at it from the lens of this is going to create efficiencies. And I look at it, and I'm also looking at it and say, yes, it's also going to create laziness. And there's only, as fast as AI has come, it's also going to take these various platforms, the Googles, the Facebooks of the world, to also combat that AI by saying we are going to be monitoring for those that take it for exactly for what it is versus those that take it as a baseline and then adjust it to be more authentic. What is your comment on that?
Sheila's deep in thought. Sheila.
Well, I was looking up, just, you were mentioning some things, Jeff, that made me think about a slide. Teresa and I were on a meeting with the guy who created ChatGPT. I can't even remember who put us on that one.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, and we had the slide deck, and time to get to 1 million users, like Facebook was 10 months, Netflix was 3.5 years. Instagram was 2.5 months. ChatGPT was 5 days.
Yeah.
And just when you talk about the speed of it, it goes back to what we've both been saying, is it's coming fast and furious. This isn't something Teresa and Sheila are doing. This is something every single person in technology in every industry in the entire world is working on. They're all working in one way or another. We just came off of a call with somebody that we're working with for rental, the rental product that we have, where we're helping renters not have to pay multiple application fees. So those are, there's so many companies involved in building technology that is going to change the way we live and change the way we do our businesses. No different than what you've done with all of the companies that you're working with to do what you've done with social media. It's the same thing. It's just the next iteration of what technology do we have now that will change the world? How are we going to change the world? Who's going to be on the front end of it? Are you going to get left behind, or are you going to participate in it? And what do you need to do to not fall behind? Because we saw it with agents who didn't use a CRM. They didn't stay in touch with their clients. They didn't get referral or past business. They had to work harder to get deals. We saw it with people who weren't in social media, following you and doing what you do, that they're not building a following. They're not building authority. It's really no different.
Yeah. Yeah. And honestly, I correct me if I'm wrong with this statement or what your thoughts are on it, but it's not about, like, the way things are moving now. You almost can't not always have an eyeball on the future, on ahead, right? Because it's moving so fast, and it's all, this has all just happened in the last couple of years. You know, things, you know, something came and it stuck for a while. That's not really happening anymore. And we are at the infancy of this movement, this change in our world, but it's crazy to think about what that future looks like. And I I'm almost scared for the world. I'm scared for businesses and entrepreneurs and individuals because I just don't think we've evolved as a human race enough to think like that. We've become we're so adaptive, and it's like, okay, the few years, Facebook's not just a college app, it's actually something legitimate. Okay. Right. And now I'll embrace it. Now, like you said, AI, 5 days. And I've seen other statistics about how AI, when you compare it to the various technology revolutions that have happened prior to it, they took hundreds of years, 30 years, 15 years, and now AI is taking months to reach underdeveloped parts of the world. And shit's crazy.
Yeah, like when I started Consortia, I say I because there are times before Sheila was with the company. When I started it, we went through the NAR accelerator in 2019, and then I refused to work on the company from 2020 to 21 because I was just tired of spelling the word blockchain and spelling NFT to people. I was like, you know what? When the world is ready for this, if this is a winning technology, I saw it very clearly. If this is a winner, I'll know it. I'll know it when I see it. And then people started to reach out to me, like head general counsels for really huge companies in real estate started reaching out in the end of 2021. And then I was like, LFG, let's do this. So, and then from there, it's catapulted so much faster. What I thought would take 5 years took a matter of months last year. So there, like you said, things got stuck, right? Now it's like catapulted and leapfrogged faster than I ever thought possible.
Yeah.
And the people contacting us now that we met a year plus ago that were like, what are you doing? That are literally knocking on our door saying, what can we do to get involved? How do we do this? How do we? So people are waking up and seeing and realizing that they need to be on top. And I mean, what you were mentioning before about, how fast it's going, we literally all day as a team, 7 days a week, are constantly texting each other articles, news, podcasts. We are all so on top of news of how things are changing. We consume so much data as a team. I mean, literally, it's insane the amount of data that we as a team consume to try to make sure we're staying on top of and ahead of what's coming.
Yeah. I mean, that's why we created what we did, I mean, same concept, just different topic. It's why we align. It's why our brains are, we're like, siblings from different parents. Very cool. Okay. So then to answer that, Sheila, what's the answer? What's the answer? Which goes back to, I don't know if, we've got a clear answer from Ruth's question, which is, okay, how do I get involved? What should I do next? What is the one thing I should do when I hang up from this to start preparing myself?
Well, it's not just one thing. Number one, you need to go through the Consortia AI training. It's free.
Let's put that link in the notes.
Yes, it's free. So then you could take the next step and invest in the Consortia blockchain course to understand that. You could watch all of the past webinars that we've done with you. Consortia also has a YouTube channel. You can watch everything on the Consortia YouTube channel. You can go onto the Consortia website, which I think, Teresa, I just saw her post that in there. Our Consortia website also has additional links and things that you can read through. Teresa, I don't think we've loaded the FAQ on there yet, have we? Have we loaded the FAQ with all of the back information for them to read through on everything about blockchain? Have we done that yet? I know you were working on it. Okay. We have coming out a whole, we have a dictionary, but we went so far as to literally break down every possible question we think that anybody would ask us in every part of the industry in regards to blockchain and what we're doing. So keep a lookout for that. We are working on it.
Can you share that with us when that comes out so we can share it with our community?
Yes, sir. We'll share that with you. The dictionary, we should be able to just share now. Teresa, if you don't have the link, I could probably find it.
The dictionary is in the in the blockchain.
It's at the end of the blockchain course.
Yeah, which is a paid for course. Yeah.
The one that's 99.
Yeah, it's currently 99.
So those are things that you can do, and then go play with Chat GPT. There's a free version that you can play with before you get to a paid version. Jasper AI is the other one Teresa uses a lot. You can, like you saw, she actually has it linked to her Google account. So, and then just start listening, start watching, it's one of those things like, when you buy a Tesla or you buy a Mercedes or you buy a car, all of a sudden you start seeing it everywhere. There's a psychological phenomenon that actually was written by the gentleman who wrote, Robert Cialdini, who wrote E-Myth. And it talks about psychologically, once you are made aware of something, then your brain will systematically start noticing it more. So just making yourself aware, and like Jeff always says, that's why he has us on here every month, because he wants to learn. And so he's making that available to all of you so that you can learn as well. And it's just, the more you get into it, the easier we'll get, just like anything else, just like with Jeff with the social stuff. It's hard in the beginning, just like it was with the CRM, setting your CRM up. It was hard in the beginning, but then it starts becoming second nature and you're like, oh, wow, this is amazing. It's going to be exact same process in this.
So I was just goofing off just in the background while Sheila was talking.
Of course you were.
This is what happens. Like Sheila's like, you did what? That's what I woke up to that Monday morning. You did what? Never do that again. She's like, but I kind of like it. She hated one robot that I used. That was the issue. So here I just typed, this is Zapier. This is for process automation. So I said, Facebook pages, when I post something new, create a chat GPT, create a conversation. Like, if you're not using this.
Oh yeah. It honestly will save you, just using this will save you so much headache and time, because it's not like you typing into Google and it coming up with pages and pages and pages and pages of things that you then have to read and research. It does all of that research for you. Let's say you type something into Google and there's 35 pages that you would have to search through for articles to write your paper or your blog. This does it for you in about 5-10 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
It searches the entire Google world, combines every article that has ever been written about that topic, and answers your question in seconds.
Yeah. Why don't we, you guys want to do the next one on, you want to do this? You want to like do some, well, I mean, granted things might change, but do a run through on something like this?
Sure.
Is a month too long?
Oh my
No.
gosh, that's how fast technology is going.
It
Huh?
is. It's moving super fast.
That's
But
what I'm
it's
saying.
not.
Like,
We don't know what's going to change in the next month, just like you don't.
this might be obsolete in a month. Shit.
Well, GPT won't, because they're
No.
definitely leading over everybody else. And they've come so far just in the past this year. It's insane how much they've changed.
You mean since November?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you guys, you guys follow Elon Musk at all?
Yes.
And you've been watching like how he's been warning. He was warning pre-ChatGPT, and I tell my audiences this. So I've been talking about the future of tech in our talks. You know, Tristan and I do. And last year AI was the top of the list, but I didn't know what the hell I was really saying when I said AI. And then all of a sudden it came, and I was like, damn. And now, like literally, you guys probably know this, but like my talk every year, it pretty much stays about the same for 12 months. There's some slight iterations and updates that I make now. From 1 month to the next, I'm speaking and I mean, I've got a bunch of stuff coming up, but I have this one in August, and they're like, what are you going to talk about? I'm like, chill out. I have no idea. Like, I don't know. I mean, if you want me to tell you now, that could completely change in 3-4 months. And so that's the reality of the situation. Like that's what you need to understand here. If you're bringing me down there to speak to your group, it's going to be up to date. And I think that's a lot of what you guys are doing too. And it's, I fear saying that with you guys. Well, let's plan ahead a month. And then, 2 weeks from now, Teresa's going to text me, be like, yeah, there's something new.
Literally that happens to us.
Uh-huh.
When we speak week to week,
Yeah.
We have to change our entire deck because so much has happened in some
Sucks.
weeks that we literally have to redo the whole deck because
Yeah.
it's like, oh my gosh. I mean, we had one weekend when we were in Cabo and then going to the next event. We had to make 2 full decks. It's
So
like,
crazy.
this is insane how fast this is moving.
Yeah. Well,
And-
even our conversations from last June,
oh yeah.
into the summer, have changed dramatically. Well, okay. So going back to what you were just describing, Sheila, and you're giving these things, and obviously you gave us the link. So for those of you that are in Zoom, Jake, will you put that link over on LabCoats as well, if you haven't already? And you can look, if you go to that page and you choose a plan, you can scroll down. There's 2 options. There's one that's paid, there's one free. If someone was going to try to go in order here, which one should they do first? I mean, I'm going to guess you're going to say the paid one, but there's probably a reason for it.
No. We want people to become familiar. We're fine with you going through the free one because it'll give you the feeling of AI along with blockchain. It's describing blockchain, and we want you to be comfortable. We're not doing this, and we're not charging just because we're trying to make a bunch of money. If not, we were told in the beginning we should have been charging way more than we charge. We're trying to, just educate people in a way that, again, from Teresa's background with her investment banking and with her SEC, I cared a lot about us bringing to the industry the correct, true, legal, appropriate information to the industry that we wouldn't have to worry about getting in trouble with the SEC. That is what meant the most to me when I met Teresa. It's like, we have got to help people understand what so that as this all rolls out, people aren't going to wind up having what happens to some people that's like happening right now with the government clamping down on them and shutting down their companies and, taking over their accounts and all sorts of things if people are doing the wrong things. So just keep watching, keep coming here every month with Jeff, keep, watching his YouTube channel about everything he releases. I'm sure, Jeff, you interview a lot of other people, and I'm sure you're talking to other people about topics like this, especially AI.
Mm-hmm.
So I know you and Tristan are pushing hard to stay on the front of everything as well. And, make sure that you're providing the content to your viewers that will help them be ahead of the curve.
Yeah. Well, as always, thank you. Teresa, any parting thoughts for today?
I love that this conversation started with blockchain, and I can see it evolving to so much more. Consortia are also going to be creating another community called Silicon Valley Prop Tech. So for people, I think maybe this actually answers Ruth's question from a few minutes ago, is that we will be promoting and sharing information about different technology that comes in. So that should be cool. I think Consortia is bigger than just blockchain. It's so much more in how we integrate, how we talk to the future. So I think there are going to be a lot more ideas as we go through Web 3, 4, 5. Sheila, I just noticed your LinkedIn profile says Web 3 through Web 5. And we also struggle. She made me do this roadmap slide, and she's like, Teresa, what does Web 6, 7, 8, 9 look like? And I'm like, oh my God, please don't ask me that. Have I not performed enough for you? Have I not given you enough what's in my head? It's so hard. You want to say, oh, come speak for me in 3 months. Yeah. It's really hard to predict. I think we just look, to go to your point earlier, is it going to be good for all humanity that everything gets automated? No, it's going to be really hard. But if you're watching these videos and you're educating yourself, then you've got a good shot going forward. I don't know what all humans are going to do for work. I don't know. And I've cried about it before we go on stage. It terrifies me. The best we can do, as Sheila always says, is save the ones who are swimming toward you. And so my hat is off to anyone who's not scared of the future, who makes the time to watch your videos, Jeff, and your interviews. So thank you for leading humanity with what you do.
I need to snip that out. Shit, that's the greatest. That was funny. I found that funny. I hope everybody else did too. Awesome. Ladies, as always, it's a pleasure. I look forward to our continued conversations. And for those of you that are watching today, keep an eye out for next month, where we're going to get a little bit into that whole zapping thing that Teresa was showing us, how to kind of integrate some things. So thank you much. And let's stay in touch.
Thank you so much. Thank you, LCA. Thank you, Jeff.
Bye-bye.
Bye.